I'm Professor G, and this is applications of percents, part 1, right? And so what I'd like to do is start talking about the one basic equation that's going to govern all of what we do, even in part 2. And that basic equation is the percent of the whole is the part. Now mathematically this gets translated, the percent, we're going to use the percent symbol, of gets translated as multiply. Whole is one of the things that we're going to solve for, so I'm just going to use a capital W. Is equals, and part again is another variable that's going to change for the problem, and so I'm just going to use P. Okay? So that's the mathematical translation. So you can see there are 3 things that you can solve for. The first one, and the easiest, is the part. And the reason why this is the easiest is because you're just going to follow your orders of operation. You're just going to simply multiply the percent and the whole together, and that'll give you the part, and that'll make your life very easy. The second thing that you can solve for is the whole. Alright, and this one isn't too bad because all you're going to do is divide to get that, so that's nice. And for number 3, you're going to find the percent. And this one is the tricky part, okay, because I don't tackle this from a proportion standpoint. And so this one is the trickiest because you just have to remember one thing. You have to remember to convert at the end, okay? But I think it's a whole lot easier than dealing with the fractions and the proportions. So this is the way I teach it in class. Right? So let's do each. Let us solve for each in the context of a word problem. All right. So let's say that I have a buddy Bill who makes a 12% commission on sales, right? And let's say he earns $8,000 in sales last month. Okay? So how much is his pay? Alright, so this would be a classic question. Okay, so if we look at this question, alright, from the idea of the percent of the whole is the part, then really what we're asking is what's the percent, and the percent is 12% of what? Of the $8,000, right? That's the whole amount, that's the big amount, that's usually the biggest number, is the part, and is what he's going to get paid, right? That's his paycheck. So 12% of $8,000 is the pay. And if you think about it, you know, this is correct. So now what we're going to do is we're going to convert this, the 12% to a decimal, 0.12. Of gets translated is to times. The 8,000 just comes down, it's already a number. Is gets translated as an equal sign. And I like to call stuff like it is. So I'm not going to put X here, I'm going to put P here for pay. Because if you had several things to solve for, or, you know, that kind of thing, then that's going to be really important what you name stuff. So that's a good habit to get into. So here you can see this is just an order of operations problem. The pay is already isolated. It's already solved for. All you have to do is multiply 1,200 times 8,000. And when you multiply that out, you get $960. And that would be his pay. Now, if you don't remember how to multiply by decimals, please look at the other links in the 24/7, and they will show you how to do that. Okay? But we're focused on applications to percent. And so I want to go on to a second example. Let's say that Bill isn't happy, and so Bill wants at least $1,000 in his paycheck next month, right? So you earn $960. He wants to shoot bigger, so he wants $1,000 next month. All right. So how much in sales must he get to reach that goal? Right? So now we still have the 12%, right? That is his commission of what? I don't know. I don't know of what. That's his sales that he must get. Is the pay that he's looking for, right? And so we're going to have 12% of his sales is $1,000. Okay. And of course now we're going to convert, right? 1200ths times S for sales is 1,000. And now we can see, however, that the sales is not solved for, right? It's being multiplied. And the inverse of multiply is to divide. So what I'm going to do is divide by 1200ths on both sides. Right, pretty straightforward, 1200ths on both sides. And so that the sales that he would need to get is 1,000 divided by 0.12. And if you look, that's $8,333.33 rounded to the nearest cent, because obviously this 3 is repeating forever, right? So do look at the directions, right? So note the directions in the problems like this, because sometimes it'll say nearest whole dollar, nearest cent. Think about what makes sense in the context of the problem. Here it wouldn't make any sense to go past the cent value, right? Past the hundredths place, because we don't have a denomination of money smaller than that. So that wouldn't make sense. So do note the directions. Sometimes you get stuff wrong just because you're not paying attention to the directions. Okay, so this one also straightforward, but there is, that solving element, but you're only doing one thing. In the original problem, we multiplied. Here we're dividing, right? So now the tricky one, right? So now let's say that Bill's boss, Bill makes not $8,000, not $8,300 but let's say Bill makes $12,000 in sales the next month, right? He was really going gangbusters, and he got this, right? And so the boss gives him $1,800 in pay, and he tells him that it's a bonus. And so Bill's like, well, is this really a bonus? Is this what I should have gotten? I've never made $12,000 before. Is this a good thing? And so what he wants to do is he wants to calculate the commission rate. Because if it's not much better than the 12% that he's been getting, then there's not really a bonus in here, right? And the boss is not being truthful, right? So we want to calculate the commission rate. So Bill is thinking, well, I don't know what I'm making as a percent of the 12,000, but that is the $1,800 that the boss is giving me, right? Now here's the trick to getting this right. Leave the percent symbol there. This is our reminder that the answer we're going to get is a decimal, and we got to convert it to a percent. So when I bring this down, my variable is going to be a percent symbol times 12,000 equals 1,800. And now I'm just going to divide, right? I'm just going to divide this by the 12,000 And if you think about this, this is going to make a whole lot of sense, because if you divide the part by the whole, okay, you're going to get a decimal, and you can always convert a decimal into a percent. So this is going to give us a decimal. And again, if you need some help dividing 1800 by 12,000, look at some of our other 24/7 lectures, but mini lessons. But the percent then is going to be equal to 0.15. Remember, this is a decimal, and this is our reminder to convert. And so you just want to convert that decimal to a percent, and so the percentage is 15%. Okay, the percentage is 15%. And that makes, hopefully that makes sense. So this is the way that we do our applications of percent problems. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been enlightening. You like the method that I've showed you. And please follow up with part 2.